Hey, how's it going, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Subscriber Championship for you guys today here on the channel. We're here for the 9th round of this season with 10 rounds in total, meaning we've got 2 races to go. Here for the Japanese Grand Prix, though. For today's episode, it is a reverse championship grid order, which does actually mean that I'm starting from last because the 2 drivers that were ahead of me in the championship both never actually appeared in the lobby and turned up because they couldn't make it or they forgot, one or the other. But we're here then for the Japanese Grand Prix, so we're going to be starting last out of the drivers that did turn up for today's race. So it means that it's last to question mark, pretty much. So let's see what we can get. Hopefully you end up enjoying today's video, though. If you do, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're around here as well. And let's get straight into the race then, when it loads. In due course, of course. We've just got a couple more drivers ready and waiting to get going. There we go. So we're going to start on the soft compound tyres then. So here we go then on the grid. Now we've got the 5 red lights here, as we tend to do, and it's lights out, and away we go. And it was actually a very delayed start from myself at the back. I was too busy adjusting some of the pieces on my car, and I ended up just, well, not actually going anywhere. But Callisto then in the Ferrari actually dropped back behind everyone. I wonder if he was just dropping back maybe because sometimes he tends to lag a little bit, and maybe he just didn't want to get involved in any first corner incidents and thought it'd be safe to just play it from the back and fight his way up, which if that's the case, that's completely fair enough then. As we go through the S sections now here, we've got Hazard in front of us. He gets a bit of a bad line there through the Dunlop curve, and now as we go in towards the first Degners here, we're side by side with Hazard, who then just goes a little bit wide actually, and I think he's gone backwards. Yeah, he's a yellow flag then, so I think he might have actually just spun on the exit there. Zombie gets shoved wide by Sam, and we're able to just take that position. We're up into 8th place now in this Grand Prix course. Only 12 runners. Again, this was I did this race on the Tuesday. It was the only day that me and Sam were able to actually do this race, so obviously it was a little bit unorthodox compared to when we normally do it, but obviously, you know, we've still got enough runners to make it count as we go through now through Spoon. Sam there gets very close to Madman on the exit, and I actually mismanaged my ERS on this first lap here, so I'm already out of battery, which is a little bit of quite a big disadvantage actually as we go through 130R with Sam and Tom going side by side. A little bit of contact there from the 2 of them as Madman doesn't quite realise that there's a little bit more to the race circuit than what he expects all the way out there, but we get a fantastic exit off the chicane and we are through and onto the start finish straight. But again, I mismanaged my battery completely, so we've got our battery back though, so we can start using it again, but it's a little bit disappointing that we weren't able to utilise it as we go through turns 1 now. Sam there making a little bit of contact with the McLaren then, and of course Tong at the moment fighting really hard despite having front wing damage. He'd probably be better off at this stage of the race just starting to just let the cars through and then follow them along, but Sam gets through in the S section. Tom can't fight that one back anymore. Now I've got to try and find my way through, and I really want to find my way through quickly because again, that front wing damage is just going to cost me time being stuck behind, but we'll have to wait and see as there's a yellow flag in the background then as we now go through the 2 Degners. Now we get a great run out of the second Degner. Fantastic run actually, as we're now going to try and go to the inside line here, get blocked off. Now we're going to go to the inside of the hairpin, making a bit of contact with ourselves, and now we're going to go for, we spun round on the hairpin then, and we're going to have to reverse and just get back on with it again. I tried to go down the inside of Tong. As we went towards the apex, myself and Tong actually made contact, and it just, yeah, it didn't really work out. And then I got hit, and then I hit Sam because I had to brake later, plus the contact meant that I had to go a little bit earlier, and I was just squeezed so heavily that I had to brake that much later. Yeah, honestly, it really wasn't ideal, that entire overtaking sequence, but we're back underway, down in 10th place as we get a nice cheeky whack there for no reason. But yeah, it was kind of annoying. If Tong stayed to the, to the outside and didn't cover off fully the inside line and allowed a bit more space, I wouldn't have had to have broke so much later, as that's a nice switch back in towards turn 2, and we get through. I would have been able to have broken late, but then I wouldn't have broken so late that I would have hit the back of Sam then. So yeah, it's just unfortunate. And then as I was on the curb, I wasn't really putting much throttle down, but the game just was like, nope, you're spinning all the way around and to the point where you're going to hit that wall. And when I hit that wall on the hairpin, I did actually take some front wing damage. So we're now running with the yellow front wing end plate. So we're running wounded once again, but we're just going to give it everything we got. And I decided to make a tweak to the downforce, as you can see there in the pits. So I'm going to take a click and front downforce off. Basically, I was still struggling in the first sector. My tyres were overheating like crazy, and yeah, obviously with a fixed setup, it's going to be quite difficult to keep the tire temperatures under control, but most of the time I can. But when I'm running with a damaged front wing, it's just really difficult to do so. Yeah, that first part of the race, apart from the spin and collision in there, as Sam gets onto the curb, though, just in front of us. Now he's gone wide onto the gravel, and that's a free position then ahead of Sam, which was quite key, actually, because if I caught up to Sam, it would have been very difficult for me to find a way through on him. But he actually makes life easy for me. But we're on to lap 7 of the Grand Prix now, and the undercut is working quite well at the moment. So we'll see if it makes any formal impact, though, as we go now onto the start-finish straight. That is my teammate Hazard coming out of the pits right now, and we are in front of him. So we have done the undercut on my teammate. I knew I had the pace to overtake him, but I had to make something count. And crucially, the undercut paid off by a couple of laps. And although it was only 0.6 of a second, as you can see there, he definitely had much more great pace, did Hazard, throughout the period of that stint. But when I was actually out on my flying laps on these medium compound tyres, I really didn't make them count. So in theory, I should have done a little bit more. As we're on to the back of Bacon Boys here, who is harvesting some energy going through 130R, and I noticed that. Couldn't go for the overtake into 130R, but the outside line is available for me. He's going to let me have that line, and I say thank you very much, and we've made that overtake stick, and we're now up into 5th place. We've got Constant Soda and Callisto, out of nowhere, is currently in 3rd place. I have no idea how he's managed to do this, but he was very far behind me when I came into the pits. I think he was behind me anyway. I'm confident he was. And somehow he's now up in 3rd place. I have no idea how he's done that, but maybe the undercut was the wrong option to do. But now we're just trying to see if we can work on something here. As Constant Soda goes around the outside into 130R. Callisto backs off just before 130R as he didn't really want to go for that move then, as Azzy out front sets the fast lap of the race so far. Ewan is in 2nd place. Then it is Constant Soda, Callisto, and myself. So we are still on for a potential podium finish whilst running wounded as per usual in this series. But again, it is just a bit of fun here or there as Callisto tries to go down the inside into turn 1, and I just decide I'm just going to play it patient. I'm not going to go for it. There's no point, especially when he's side by side into turn 1 around Japan. It's just not on as Callisto breaks a little bit late then. Try and go down the inside, but it doesn't work now. All of a sudden, Hazard is going to try and go for it. We'll leave him the space, but Hazard goes for a little bit too optimistic against ourselves. He spun himself around. We've got warning for a collision, but I gave every ounce of space possible, and Hazard unfortunately just mistimed his acceleration on throttle there. And again, trying to make an overtake in the S section is very difficult, and plus the two of us are competing for 3rd or 2nd place in the championship, so yeah, I wasn't going to relinquish, but I gave as much space as I possibly could. As we're getting a run now here on lap 10 against Callisto, we're going to have a look down the inside here. Callisto warrants plenty of space there, which is very, very nice to see. And in this race, actually, Callisto didn't have any lag. So obviously, quite a few times I've been struggling with Callisto lagging. But in this race, I didn't really see it, which is cool. And now we're going to go side by side on the start-finish right here. Callisto running out of ERS, though, into turn 1. But we get the run down on the inside there. And we're going to cover the inside line again on exit, because I knew straight away Callisto was going for a switchback, how wide he went into turn 1, and I just covered that one off. I knew exactly what he was up to. He might have not tried the switchback, but I could just tell by the way the proximity arrows were working, so I decided to just brake check a little bit into turn 1. In other words, I didn't get onto the throttle quick enough to cover off that apex. But now we're onto the back of Constant Soda here. Now Constant Soda was running low on ERS. I knew this on this straight, so I was speaking to Sam and Azzy in the party. You can see his red light flashing there. So he's low on ERS, but on that straight down towards 130R, he literally used ERS because I wasn't, and he was in overtake mode. And I was just like, alright, that's cool. I'm just going to let you do that. My exits out of the last chicane were just absolutely superb. And we are through, up now into the podium places at the Japanese Grand Prix. It's been a while since we've been on the podium. And that's where it stood. So lap 13 of the Grand Prix, we managed to pull away from Constant Soda. We are catching Ewan up front, although I'm pretty sure he's just backed off at this stage, as he sets the fast lap of the race on the last lap, pretty much showcasing that he had all the pace in the world to take the victory here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Constant Soda corner cuts the chicane to try and gain the position there, and that is us across the start-finish line then, and we are through. Checkered flag is done, and we've claimed ourselves P3. Starting last on the grid, plus that spin as well put us a long way back, and we ran with a wounded car with our front wing taking some damage there. Driver of the day was ourselves, which is kind of cool. At the end of the day, despite I was really kind of frustrated at the move into the hairpin. I thought it was very, very harsh, the movement under braking, and it basically was the sole purpose as to how I managed to hit Sam. Then obviously the game, had its own fault. Like, it wasn't enough of a hit on Sam for me to spin around. But it was, the game was just like, nah, you can spin all the way around to that wall all the way over there, you pleb. And that's where we ended off. So there we go. But at the end of the day, we got some great overtakes done, which was cool. We got a good overtake on our Sam. I capitalised on a mistake there. We got a great overtake on Constant Soda. Got a couple of overtakes on Madman. Yeah, some good overtakes though from us here today. And as you can see, just having a look there at all of the incidents, and that is where we stand with things. So as you can see, there are all of the warnings and stuff anyway, but we finished 11 seconds behind Azzy. I don't want to say that I would have been able to have beaten Azzy here today if I didn't have the spin and had front wing damage, but you never know. But it is what it is. Having a look at the Drivers' Championship though now, as you can see, because Robin and Hayden both didn't turn up for the race, it does mean that we actually get up into second in the championship now, which is cool. We're on 107 points as we go to the next race in Brazil. Robin has already won sub-champ. He won it in the last race in Singapore. He's on 161 points, 54 points clear of me on 107 points, Hayden on 104. So we can still fight for second in the championship. That's if I can truly be bothered to sweat it out, which I won't. Hazza is on 88 points ahead of Callisto, who is also on 88 points. Hazza, however, has had a second place to his name at Singapore, which brings him ahead of Callisto. Wingman is on 69 points with Sam on 64 points, so Sam is 5 points back off of Wingman, so he might be able to go for him. Also, at the Brazilian Grand Prix is an opportunity for Sam to be the only man on the grid, as you can see, to score points in every single sub-champ race, so fair play. Azzy is 8th in the championship on 58 points, despite only turning up to 3 of the 9 races so far. He is ahead of Tong, who is on 32 points, tied with Justice Lime, who is on 32 points. Technically, Ewan should be in front because he's got a second place to his name, so we'll change that afterwards. I can't be bothered to change it now. Flaming Zombie is next on 30 points. So the three of them have got a little bit of a tussle to go through. Then we've got Lion and Bacon Boys, who are both on 19 points each. And then we have got Constant Soda, who's on 15 points. So maybe he could try and usurp them if he can have a good race in Brazil. Wavy Knife is on 7 points, ahead of Madman, who is on 3 points. Then it is Big Dar on 2 and Blue Ranger on 1. Wizards and Louder still haven't scored points, although I don't even remember if they've ever actually turned up. Constructors Championship then. The Constructors Championship is still alive. It is a 30-point gap between us, Alpha Tauri, and ourselves in Racing Point. However, it does mean that we'd have to outscore Alpha Tauri by 31 points, and I just can't see that happening. Ferrari are third in the championship on 120 points, thanks to Ewan's podium, really bolstering them up the order. Mercedes are on 104 points, McLaren are on 100 points, and looking good to overtake Mercedes, maybe even Ferrari. Alfa Romeo are on 74 points, pretty much cementing themselves where they are. Red Bull are on 31 points ahead of Renault on 26, Haas are on 19, and then Williams are now up to 17 points. So that championship battle is all looking juicy as we head to the final race for the Brazilian Grand Prix. But that is it, guys, for this episode of Subscriber Championship. If you have enjoyed it, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to my channel as we try and make the road to recovery, as I'll call it now, here on this YouTube channel. But yeah, until next time, I will see you for the Brazilian Grand Prix, which will be the finale of Subscriber Championship. Take care, all.